Okay, for today's lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using our historical thinking skills to analyze this document as part of our World War II in Europe unit. We've discussed these historical thinking skills before. We're going to put them to use today. Overall, what we're looking for in this document is its sourcing and its context, with context being the most important part of this particular examination. So for the questions, what we're going to look at for the sourcing is who's writing this letter and why. What is the author's perspective? Is it reliable? Why or why not? For the context, when and where was the document created? Who is the audience for this document? And how did the circumstances affect its content? Okay, so let's jump right in here, and we're going to start at the top of this document. First thing we notice is that in bold up front, it's the Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. So we know that Supreme means top. Headquarters is where the action takes place in the Allied Expeditionary Force. This also gives us a clue about a couple of things. So for the Allies, we know that it's not just the United States. It's the United States, it's Britain, it's Australia, it's the Free French. Expeditionary means the force that's going somewhere. So they're not just staying one place. The force is going somewhere. So we know that this is the top of the Allies Expeditionary Force. We know that we're still in our World War II unit. That gives us some clue about the author. And then we'll jump down to the bottom here. And if we look, we see the Dwight D. Eisenhower Library down here at the bottom. And then it's signed by Eisenhower as well. So that tells us who's writing this letter. Okay, and then for the audience, it's up front. It's right here at the beginning. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. Okay, so we know that this is the people that make up the Allied Expeditionary Force, that he's writing this letter, that Eisenhower's writing this letter to them. Okay, and then he goes right into it. You're about to embark upon the great crusade towards which we have striven these many months. Okay, so great crusade is important. He's using a specific type of language to evoke something. Great crusade, they're going to embark, they're going to go somewhere. There's going to be something important that they're going to be doing. And then he set some more context for them. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. So he's telling the people that make up the Allied Expeditionary Force that everyone is watching them, that the hopes of the liberty-loving people are with them. He goes to the allies again, and we're going to see this a couple more times. He says allies, that we know that in our brothers in arms on other fronts, we know that there's action taking place in the Pacific and other parts of Europe. That's important to note here. You'll bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny, so that the Nazis are terrorizing Europe right now. That's why we're about to embark upon this great crusade, as he calls it. Okay, and then this next paragraph, he's setting the stage for what's taking place. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. Okay, so up front, he's telling them that this is not gonna be easy. He's not pulling any punches here. And then if we read between the lines, okay, we can infer that he knows that people are gonna die from this, die as part of this great crusade that they're gonna take part in right now. So that's important, is that some of these people that are taking place in this are not going to come home. And he doesn't come right out and say that, but that's inferred from this paragraph right here. The year is 1944. Okay, we know when this is being written. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940 to 41. We know that the war has been going on for quite some time here. Okay, United Nations, calling back to the Allies again, have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced the strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts, okay, again, that's back to the Allies, okay, that it's not just the United States here. Fronts, there's multiple home fronts, have given us an overwhelming superiority and weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. So all of the Allies working together have given them an overwhelming superiority in both the weapons, the munitions, and they have enough people to do the job. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together towards victory. Okay, even before the battle, he's telling them that the tide has turned and that free peoples are marching together towards victory over that Nazi tyranny. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Okay, so that's important. Eisenhower's telling the people of the AEF, the Allied Expeditionary Force, that he's got confidence in their courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. That he's telling them that he knows that they have the skills to do what they need to do. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. So let's go back and circle back to our questions very, very briefly. So who's writing this letter and why? We know that Eisenhower is writing this letter. Why? He's writing it prior to D-Day to tell the people of the AEF what they're fighting for. That's his perspective. He's in charge. And victory was not certain, and we're going to discuss this as well. But he actually had a letter already prepared, which you can go find as well, if the landings were not successful. So he's taking this as his perspective as the supreme commander of all these troops. And in the letter, if it didn't succeed, he says that he takes full responsibility. For reliability, we know that this comes from the Eisenhower Presidential Library, or the Eisenhower Library, so we know that that's pretty reliable. This is a well-known letter, and so we could go look at this if we needed to figure out if it was edited or anything like that. Okay, we talked about when and where was the document created, who's the audience, and then the circumstances. Again, this letter's written prior to D-Day. Victory was not certain, so that's something that Eisenhower had on his mind as he was writing this letter. He wanted to tell them that he had confidence in their abilities, but it was going to be a hard fight, but that they had what they needed to complete that fight. So that's our letter. Now we're going to get into discussing the rest of the lesson on D-Day.